Hi, Ken.
Sean, sorry I'm a little late. 3 minutes.
That's okay.
You're gonna have to talk to the mayor about docking my pay.
Okay. Well, we'll see if we can make a special exception this time.
All
There's
right.
not much to dock, Ken.
True.
I'll collect the 25 cents.
All right, so I gotta give something. I hate being late. Hate it. So who do we have? I heard Mary Ellen.
Yep, Dan's here.
Hi, Dan
Dan and John.
and John. Okay.
And I think that is all we are likely to have today.
Okay. Anything different agenda-wise?
Yes, there are
Out of order, I mean.
we can go in order, but there's 2 items we will not be able to address today. The first is 235 Court, and the other is 27 and 31 Chenango Street. We will not have quorum for either of those applications.
Yeah. Does the owner know or?
Yes, yep, I informed the applicant.
Okay. Did he ask for any a special meeting or anything?
We're gonna need to schedule a special meeting for 235 Court, somewhere between the 14th and the 18th. And so I will add the 27 through 31 Chenango Street application in there as well.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I guess we can start, right?
Yes, let me just make sure. Okay, this is moving. Okay. Yes, we can. Let me just make sure we're recording. I think we are, but I just want to double check. And yes, we are recording, and you can see my screen, right?
Yeah, I can. Yep.
Okay, good. All right.
Okay. And then, Sean, I think I forget half the time, but I think you always like me to say that if someone's listening or people can call into the planning department at the number of 772-7028 if they have something to comment on,
Yep,
right?
if they want to add anything, yep, to any application.
All right. Okay. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from April 6th. Is there a motion for that?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, first on the agenda is the Binghamton Deco District.
Yes, so we've got back to the Deco District. Just as a sort of reminder, oh, maybe this is gonna not load. The number of, there we go, okay. We've been provided with the 60% project plans at this point. And I think given that we have the 60%, and I know this is a really large document, so I'm appreciative that everybody spent some time with it. And that's why I sort of sent it out as soon as I got it. I don't think much has changed since SHPO reviewed it to begin with. So the SHPO finding of no adverse effect is pretty important, I think, for your review. I know the applicant is going to talk a little bit, or the representative for the applicant is going to talk a little bit about the what we could expect between the 60 and 90% and what changes would be made. Well, I'm getting some feedback, and I just want to make
Sorry,
sure.
Sean, I had to switch phones.
Okay. You want to mute?
Yeah, I'm trying to turn the other one off. I don't know how. Technology's not my friend. At least I got to pick. Give me a minute to get rid of this phone. I'm throwing the toilet. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay. All right, so, the applicant's gonna speak a little bit about the changes we'll see between 60 and 90%, but at this point, I think, CAUD could move forward with their seeker review, and potentially issue a declaration today. Obviously, that's up to the commission, but I think at this point, it's there's enough known about the project that you could make a declaration. And then, once the plans have reached the 90% mark, would be a time where CAUD could issue the certificate of appropriateness. But we've renoticed for a public hearing today. It continued from the last meeting. Ken, I would just, when we go through this, I would just motion for the record to open the public hearing. Again, it's been a while, and I just want to make sure that that's clear on the books that we are having a public hearing today.
Okay.
CAUD has already, determined lead agency and declared the type of action, but
Okay, so I make a motion to open the public hearing about the concerning the Binghamton Deco District.
Second.
Thank
Second.
you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So we're going to hear from planning or the engineering side with the difference between 60 and 90. Is that what you said, Sean?
yes, yep, that was sort of a question that was asked at the last meeting, and I think we've got Jeff Nadge on a meeting who can speak to that a little bit more.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm here. Sean, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I did provide the link to the 60% plans, and then in that link, there was also an amenities appendix, which kind of illustrated in color some of the detail elements of the streetscape amenities. So I think, did you get both of those documents when you downloaded?
Yeah, it should have come through for everybody.
So yeah, we are at 60% right now. The one thing that has not been submitted to the city yet is the 60% estimate of probable construction costs. So we are fine tuning that, then sending it into the city this week. And this project is in coordination with another water and drainage infrastructure project the city's doing along State and Washington. So their project info is in the package, and that'll be all bid as one project. So we don't, going from 60 to 90, we don't anticipate a lot of wholesale changes. The city has kind of driven this project as more of a, making this district much safer for pedestrians, more of a pedestrian-centered environment and scale. So if anything, based on the 60% plans and the cost, if there's any changes to the entire project, it might be a reduction in scope or future phases. So they may pull out, an element like Henry and Water, for instance, or maybe segment of Northern State based on available funding. But I think the core of the project along Washington State and Lewis, and then the one block area of Henry in front of the federal building, I think is what they're looking at as the priority right now. So next 90% would actually be filling out some of the engineering tables, refining the estimate even further, developing specifications. So probably in this interim, we'll be meeting with the city, DPW, the mayor's office, and probably the traffic board prior to going into the 90% phase. So I don't know if there any specific comments or questions on the project itself?
Yeah, this is John Darrow. I do have a question, sir.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the, I'll call it curb or corner protrusions to decrease the space it takes for pedestrians to cross the road.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. I don't know the technical term, so we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I do.
Is there a statistical breakdown for the amount of vehicular pedestrian accidents at these particular corners that we're trying to make safer? I mean, has it been a disproportionate amount of accidents here?
There hasn't been a disproportionate number of accidents. What we're trying to do is, yes, actually what you mentioned is decrease the crossing distance, prioritize the pedestrians over the vehicles at this point. So we took a look at volumes. We're not eliminating any lanes, any turn lanes. We're just providing a little bit more visibility of pedestrians in this area, and then prioritizing them over the vehicles. So we're trying to come up with a balance between, the pedestrian needs and the vehicular needs in this small district.
I find a couple of the intersections to be rather encroaching if tractor trailers, especially with regard to the forum or for a commercial loading, unloading, making it difficult. Maybe the northeast corner there of, what is it, Washington or State?
Sean, would it be to show that on the plan that you have there? I don't know if it's quick to get to it or not.
Yeah, John,
there should be bookmarks in the PDF, John, if you
Give me I'm sorry, I don't have that. I'm going through the pages. It's like a dissertation. It's kind of cool, actually. Thank you for the information. It's wonderful.
it's a little slow.
But, the streets are like an artery to the town. The streets are an artery to the town. If we start diminishing our capability for having commercial traffic and vehicular traffic, I think that much like a artery to the heart being diminished, our commercial capabilities are going to be diminished.
Well, we took a look at, how the deliveries operate at the forum and a couple other places. We took a look at the transit routes. So essentially the State Street access, a lot of the tractor trailers are coming right up off Court or coming south off Lewis. So all the turning movements work. And what we provided was a little bit of, we identified some loading zones at the forum behind the theater.
Yep.
But we tried to, it's a little more, reapportioning the street right away a little bit. So it probably
It's also kind of doing away with turning lanes. If somebody wanted to take a right on Red, we're now backing traffic up considerably to the east, where they couldn't take that right turn on Shenango Street, allowing for better traffic flow. I'm just very concerned that we're going to start botching up downtown, with what they did on Main and Court Street.
Yeah.
It's taking me a half hour to get into town, where before I could be down there in like 12, 15 minutes because there's no longer an ability to really take right on Reds.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we will be meeting with the traffic board, and the issue of right on Red is actually, it's not a very safe vehicular movement for pedestrians, and essentially we didn't take any turn lanes away. So, if there's some right on Red movements, a lot of those are happening when you might have, at least a little extra room, maybe a lane.
So we do have statistics for the amount of pedestrian accidents at these intersections on file, right?
Yeah, we have some through the MPO down there. We didn't actually do any analysis for counts, but we do have the volume, which, I think there was 4,000 cars a day essentially on Henry, and then also on State. So it wasn't a huge volume. The largest volume was coming across the bridge on East Clinton, essentially into downtown. But this district was fairly low in numbers for volume, but we did not do turning counts. We just took some of the information from the local MPO down there.
It also looks like we're losing a lot of parking spaces, and we don't have a lot of parking in town.
We are losing, it was somewhere around 30 on-street spots we are losing. Yeah, we did send that info We sent that info to the MPO as well.
Do we have a contingency plan to come up with 30 additional parking places or more elsewhere in the city?
Well, I don't know if there's a contingency plan right now, but we were taking a look at there was a parking study downtown done by Bergman, I believe, which basically culminated in the summary that there is more than enough parking, I guess. There's a lot of surface parking around here, and the thought is if we make this a much more attractive, comfortable environment for pedestrians are willing to walk, maybe 15 minutes or so in a nice, comfortable streetscape. So we're adjacent to a lot of parking. There's just a few spots on the street that aren't going to be out in front of some businesses right now. We did have several stakeholder meetings, and we got another series coming up with some of the business owners in the district. Some are fine with no parking. Like I think Lost Dogs actually took their on-street parking out and put cafe spaces in there. So
well, that's as of necessity with COVID right now.
Yeah, there was a couple instances where some businesses preferred to have more pedestrian space rather than parking. So we're going to have to balance out, some of the specific needs of some of these business owners. But
how is this going to impact loading and unloading for the businesses? I mean, so Lost Dog has to obviously receive food supplies, materials.
Yeah. Still the loading zones.
Where's the truck supposed to park? Are they just going to be in the traffic lanes with flashers?
No, we've got loading zones that we're keeping intact. They're just a little more defined now.
Per property or just kind of a general loading zone for an area?
Most of them
per
are
property, sir, or just a general loading zone for the area?
There's a couple general ones. The only one that's associated with the property is the Forum Theater loading zone. But I think right now that's even shared between maybe some of the restaurants and businesses on the street.
Yep. Okay. And I'm not grilling you personally, my friend. It's certainly not that. I have questions and I have to ask.
Yeah, and we'll probably go through some of these issues with the traffic board, which is the date and time is yet to be scheduled, but I think it's going to happen within a couple of weeks. So there might be a few minor changes to some of the curb work, but.
Yep.
Sean, this is Ken.
Yes, yep, Ken.
So what generated this project in the first place? Was this a grant from the planning department, or what started this project? I'm trying to figure out the reasoning behind some of this.
This was I believe, and correct me, I know Kate's on too if I'm wrong, and Jeff, you can correct me. This came out of the I district funding, correct?
Yes, that's right.
From the state, yeah. So this was a state-funded project, and then the city applied for some of that allocated funding to be dedicated to a quote-unquote deco district, which largely falls within the State and Henry Streets Historic District.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And Jeff, have you done projects similar to this in other locations with the success that this is ideally supposed to have?
Oh yeah, we've done several of these kind of pedestrian driven. A lot of them have been, through the state's DRI program for economic revitalization or, just streetscape revitalization projects.
Okay.
So yeah, they've been pretty successful. This one has been, going on a pretty aggressive schedule. So, but we did have, like I said, we had a bunch of stakeholder meetings. We had a public meeting. There's been, nothing but pretty positive feedback about it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and a lot of people are looking at, some of the stuff Binghamton has done down on Court and State. Some of the improvements they've done, they like those improvements. So.
Okay.
This is a pretty compact district. It's very walkable. So I think the city was looking at focusing, on pedestrian safety and enhancement of the district.
Okay. John, you had a lot of good questions. I was just wondering if, and I don't know this, whether this is possible, but some boards you can have an opportunity to go hear the discussion. So, I mean, if you wanted to go to the traffic board, I don't know if they allow public into those meetings or not, but you might get some more information when they have this discussion if you want to attend
Yeah,
those.
if the date and time were made available, I'd be interested. I am concerned. I'm
Yeah, no, I mean,
very worried about the traffic flow.
so I don't know, Sean, how that, whether that's allowed. I don't know when those meetings are. Maybe you could help John with that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yes, they're all open to the public, and John can comment, at any of the meetings, and he can indicate that he's a commissioner of CAUD, and that's no issue.
Okay.
Then you can all share the burden of me being there.
All right.
Okay.
So
I got
our,
broad shoulders, guys. I'll take it. Don't worry.
no, I mean, you had some questions. I think, you might
I
get
think
some.
they're very legitimate questions. And again, I'd be very interested in the statistics for what accidents have happened here to initiate this type of reorchestrating the sidewalk structure and the street structure. I don't know if there were 100 pedestrian accidents at State and Henry, or if there were none, or if there were 2, and then who was at fault. I think these are very legitimate things to look at before we start diminishing our capabilities of absorbing traffic into a city that's already congested.
And I think the goal is to try to bring more people into this area for the shops, right? I mean, that seems to be the goal.
Yeah, I understand that, but
Yeah. So there's got to be
day-to-day business of the city still has to take place for us to have a city.
Yep. And I think Jeff is trying to balance what he was trying to do, balance traffic with people and try to accommodate the intent of the funding.
Mhm.
All right, Sean, so our charge today, if the members decide to move that way, is to review seeker and issue a declaration on seeker. Is that what you want to try to accomplish?
Yeah, so at this point, if the commission feels comfortable, it's, you have the 60%. You should have an indication of the discrepancy between what the 60% and 90% will be. Obviously, you do not have to issue your formal certificate of appropriateness until you have, the 90% or 90 plus percent of plans. But at this point, you could move forward with your seeker review, and I think it would help the applicants along the process as well. And of course, this is you've already motioned for this at the this was at the March meeting for this to be a type 1. So it's a little bit of a longer form. So if you were going through it, somebody will have to read a little bit more than they usually have to.
Mary Ellen.
Lucky Mary Ellen, if that's the case. But the other thing to consider is that, you've had the part 1 and part 2 forms for a while now. So, the current plans are just meant to complement the findings in those and help inform you.
Well, I think in general, I mean, this level of completion of plans is appropriate to act on seeker. I guess I want to hear from the board members whether they're prepared to do that. And then also, when this seeker review, different from some of the more simpler short forms that we've been doing with the quick answers, may require some debate or discussion just to get it on the record. So I don't know how long that's going to take, and I don't know if we want to do that, at this meeting and take the time based on the agenda, or I'll listen to what the other members want to try to move forward with. But it will take some time, I'm assuming.
Well, Ken, this is John again. I'm not an obstructionist. I will go along with the declaration to keep going, but I will not sign off on everything's okay until the final.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
Got it.
Yep.
My schedule is open. When I schedule for CAUD, I usually give it a couple, 3 hours, hoping that it doesn't last that long, so I'm available.
Okay,
And not a problem here. I agree with John, especially since wants to go to the traffic board and that too.
I was hoping you'd be my date that night,
Declaration.
Mary Ellen.
What was that?
I was hoping you'd be my date that night.
Excuse me, I think you're breaking up there.
That's probably a good thing. No, I said, I thought you were going to go to the meeting with me.
I know what you said.
Yeah. Got lost in translation.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I'm, okay with doing up to that point and then do the final one when we have everything.
okay, which is, we'll do the certificate of appropriateness after 90%, but we'll probably get to a point where you can make a declaration on seeker today.
Okay.
Dan, are you okay?
Yep, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, Sean, we're gonna need that form up if you can get it.
Yep, hold on 1 second. It's just jumping around a little bit here. Sorry, my computer is very slow today.
So John, my first question personally to you is, how is a guy who fights with technology, why do you have two phones to begin with? That's double the trouble.
Well, so my wife made me get a different type of phone, an iPhone, which is fine. And I'd had a Samsung. Well, I've got like 4,800 contacts in my phone that apparently they couldn't transfer over. So all told, between the two, I've got about 6,000 contacts. It's my Rolodex.
Nice.
House is burning. I grab the phones and I run out of the house. But until I can figure out how to get them all someplace, I can't get rid of them. And they're two different numbers. One's my phone number from when I was in the limousine business, the old Renner Rolls Royce days from 1980s. And I still get calls. And then the other one's kind of more contemporary, where non-A-listed people can call me,
I just was curious. That makes sense now.
I'm not going to tell you which number you have, Ken.
I was just going to ask you, are we all on the A list?
Of course.
Hello.
Of course.
Did someone
Hello?
just, let me just dial
Yeah,
in?
this is Emily. Hi.
Hi, Emily.
Hey, we're not up to your item yet, Emily, so just bear with us.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if this was correct or not. Sorry. I didn't know if you knew I was here.
You are in the right place.
Okay.
Can everybody see my screen or no?
I can see it, but if I'm going to
I
read
can.
it, it's got to be a little bigger.
Okay, I'll get that to be a little bit larger.
Oh, that's good. These old eyes of mine.
Yes, so you should, before you go through reading this, Ken, you want to make sure that you allow the public an opportunity to call in and give some time. And then you want a motion to close the public hearing and then proceed with your seeker review.
Okay. So if there is anyone out in the public wishing to comment during this public hearing regarding this application, please call into the number, which is 772-7028, and we will wait a little bit of time to give you a chance to call in and comment. And Sean, do you want so we'll close the public hearing and then go deliberate on the seeker, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So, Mary Ellen, are you okay with doing this? It's a little bit slightly different, but I hate to have you do the boring ones and then miss out on this good one.
Oh, you're trying so hard. No problem. No, I have no problem with it. I can read it now too.
Okay. All right. And so, board members, again, because it's a little bit more, as Mary Ellen voices her opinion on the answer, if you have a comment or disagree or with that, make sure you speak up as we go through the numbers, go through the items.
So I'll read the statement and then I'll just wait a second before I say no. If they want to give a.
You can you can answer, and then if we disagree or someone wants to add a comment,
Yeah.
then that's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
So they should be no's, right? What I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm actually going to pull up a better checklist if you just give me 1 second, because you want to be looking at it for no or small impact
I was
and
gonna say
moderate to large impact.
It's not the typical one that I've used to. So there's a different. Where'd you get this one from, Sean?
I think this one is a little bit dated.
Yeah. It's small to
hold on.
moderate. It usually it's a small to moderate impact in the first comment or a.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to get here.
Yeah, and this says just yes or no.
Yes or no. And we want small, moderate. So hold on 1 second. Okay.
Okay.
Good catch, though.
I zoom into this.
So did
What?
the
There we go. Hold
applicant fill out part 2? Jeff, did you
Yes,
fill out?
yes,
Yeah.
they did.
So shouldn't we be looking at that one or no?
Can you see?
Yeah. Should,
Yeah.
okay. Maybe.
Hold on 1 second, everybody. Just give me 1 second.
There.
We're going to use this one. Sorry about the planning commission. Just note that it should be CAUD there, but this is the correct.
All right. So the check marks on there, Sean, do they represent what Jeff completed or no?
These are no.
Looks like they do though, Sean. So
They do largely match, but
There's a couple blanks.
yes, and that's an opportunity for the commission to discuss.
Okay.
Okay.
The critical one here for your review was the will the proposed action occur in a historic district, and that is of course that's checked.
Right. Okay.
And so you can go back and you can discuss that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you can ask the applicant about them as well.
All right. Hearing no comment regarding this application from the public, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mary Ellen, would you go through part 2 of the seeker form for this application?
Sure. And I'll just start with the questions.
Yep.
Will the proposed action involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site? Now, that one's blank, and that could be a moderate, or is that a no?
Yeah, so you're all meant to discuss that based on the information you've had and make a determination. And for all of these, you're meant to discuss them.
Okay, but those in particular need discussion.
Right. So, I mean, here's my input. So we've heard from John, and there's not a right or wrong answer. This is going through the process. Like if you feel like John did, then this would be a moderate to large impact possibility. And then Jeff goes and tries, he's in the process of mitigating that and trying to balance, the needs of the motorist to that of the pedestrian. So you could go there if you felt that way, or we could be no or small impact. I don't think it's a no. I think it could be a small to moderate.
Yeah, not to jump ahead, but I think there's one that is more specific to transportation systems.
Okay.
So would that be Just so we're not debating that here if it's going to show
Yeah.
up later.
Because this has involved the construction.
And there's a significant amount of construction over a significant amount of streets. I think it's moderate at minimum to large impact.
Right, I do
Just the
too.
amount of construction. It's a matter of fact.
We're affecting several streets.
Correct.
Yeah. So that will be a moderate. When you're ready for me to go on, say so.
And I want to ask Jeff a question. Jeff, what I don't want to do is, as we go through this, you're very familiar with the project, you're living the project. You want us to advise us as well, how this affects your design or doesn't affect your design, or how you're in the process of answering that. I don't know if that's appropriate, Sean, but I'm trying to get as much on the public record as possible.
I think that's fine, Ken.
Okay, so if you want to add something, Jeff, when we make those answers, please feel free.
Okay, yeah, I mean, in terms of the first question, where it involves construction, I would say definitely it's a moderate impact.
Okay.
It's typically during the construction phases. Like once construction's done, it's not going to be much of an impact. And as far as the transportation system itself, nothing actually changes in terms of, how vehicles move through the district or how the bus routes move, or any emergency vehicles are not prohibited. So that, I think, considered on the transportation system aspect, it would be a small impact because it doesn't really change, transportation system itself.
All right.
So
Okay,
I guess
Mary.
2 comments on that.
Yeah, that's down, coming up on the list. Appreciate that. All right, Mary Ellen?
Okay, will the proposed action, excuse me, result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site? Example, cliffs, dunes, minerals, fossils, or caves. And I'm going to say no.
I would agree.
I agree.
Okay. I'll go on.
Yep.
Will the proposed action affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies, streams, rivers, ponds, or lakes? I'm going to say no.
Agree.
I agree.
Okay. Will the proposed action result in new or additional use of groundwater or have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer? No.
Agree.
Agree.
Okay. Will the proposed action result in development on land subject to flooding or subject to flooding? No.
Agree.
Okay. Will the proposed action include state regulated air emission source? No.
Agree.
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 Okay, here's another one for, will the proposed action result in a loss of flora or fauna? And
No.
I'm saying no.
No.
Yep.
Are they replacing trees in kind that are being removed or something? Jeff?
We are adding more landscape.
Wonderful. Then I agree with the.
There was some.
Yeah, that
Thank
should
you.
be significantly more landscaping than currently.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Then I agree with the commissioners.
Okay. Will the proposed action impact agricultural resources? No.
Agree.
Agree.
Okay. Will the proposed action be obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource? And I'm saying no. Should help it.
Agree.
Okay.
Reluctantly agree.
Well, do you want to leave that for debate or?
I'm with you. I just apprehension, but I'll agree with you
Okay.
with reservation.
Will the proposed action occur in or adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource? And that is a moderate to large impact.
I think that's appropriate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Right.
Are we going to have signage put up acknowledging the existence of the tributary, the Erie Canal, the old Shenango going down State Street there?
That is under consideration right now, yeah. The Shenango
Okay.
Canal. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, that
Thank
would be good. Okay. Will the proposed action result in a loss of recreational opportunities or reduction of an open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan? No.
Agree.
Agree.
Okay. Will the proposed action result in a change to existing transportation systems? This is open for discussion.
Well, existing transportation are pedestrian and vehicular. It's changing them to some extent, but they still exist, though not as they pre-existed. I think I would be inclined to go with small to no impact with reservation, but can cars still drive? Yeah, they can still drive. People still walk, they can still walk. Different than before, but they haven't closed a road off to make it a commons. They haven't stopped people from going into an area. That's my take on it, guys.
Okay.
I would agree.
Yep, I agree.
So it's going to be a no to, it's not going to be
Small to
moderate or large, small,
Yeah.
okay. I
Correct.
just wanted to
Thank
check, make sure I was right. Will the
I
proposed
talk
action?
too much.
No, I'm with you.
I'm not in denial, you know.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of any form of energy? No.
Agree.
Agree.
Okay. Will the proposed action result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting? And that's open for discussion.
I don't see it making a huge impact. I mean, we've had the outdoor Luma festivals there pre-existing, huge gatherings with downtown closed with bars set up and food. I don't see any
Yep.
significant change. Maybe if we're lucky, we'll have more of those events.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree. Okay. Will the proposed act, what was that?
I'm sorry, you said no to small then.
Right.
Yep.
Will the proposed action have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants? No.
Agree.
Agree.
Okay. Is the proposed action consistent with adopted land use plans? And that's a no.
Agree.
Okay.
Agree.
And another one for discussion. Is the proposed action consistent with existing neighborhood character? I think it is. I don't think it's, I mean, it's going to make it better.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, Mary Ellen, because the neighborhood has certainly changed from what it was 10 or 15 years ago to being a non-existent neighborhood. We now have people living there, which is wonderful, and we have shops where before we had nothing. I'm in agreement with you.
Right, okay.
Agree.
Everybody? Is there
Yep,
more?
I agree.
Okay. Okay.
now- For every one that you indicated there was a moderate to large impact, you would talk about why there, despite the moderate to large impact, there won't be a significant adverse environmental impact. And you should discuss that before issuing your declaration.
Okay, so I won't make
Why-
the motion
Why
yet.
will it not be significant is really the key.
Yeah, and we had some general discussion about that as we went through it. So if you back up to the ones that we checked off, we'll just have a brief discussion and move forward.
There
Okay,
were-
one was the first
The
one.
first. Yep. And then the 10th, which is moderate, was the historic resource. And for that, for the resource, I mean, you have the finding of no adverse impact to the district from SHPO, and that can be utilized for that.
Okay,
Well, I'm going to jump on the first one here, if I may. Proposed action involve construction, physical alteration, surface. It's an urban environment pre-existing when they get done, if they get done with the modifications, it is still going to be an urban environment, streets paved, sidewalks. It's just the configuration of the pre-existing environment that's going to change. So that's my 2 cents. We're not changing streets for land or anything. We're streets for streets, sidewalks for sidewalks.
As you said, it's not a permanent situation, it's during construction.
Exactly. And in
Okay.
15 years, they'll come up with something different and we'll vote on it again.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a consensus that we don't believe that is going to be a significant environmental impact.
I agree.
I agree.
I do too.
And down to the historic part, I think Sean made a good point about that. Paul has already discussed this and is on board with the process and what the plans are indicating. Anybody have any other comment about the historic district?
No.
No, I don't really see it changing the historic district. I mean, it's a streetscape. The canal is long gone, so it's roads, sidewalks, and buildings. It's not changing.
Yeah, and the only thing I can think of are the signage and the I guess the benches, and we'll be looking at that probably at the CAUD review portion, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's just a
More
couple
bicycle
elements.
rack things.
As the final elements are determined, you will have the opportunity to review those and issue a final certificate.
So we're indicating as a board that the moderate impact for the action occurring adjacent to the historic district is not going to result in a significant environmental impact.
Partially within
Agreed.
and adjacent, but yes, yep.
And adjacent, yes, thank you. So Mary Ellen, you can make a motion if you'd like of
Declare a negative declaration and that the 2 moderates will not impact, go along that line? Or
Yeah.
just make it negative?
no, just what you just said, that's fine.
Okay.
Second.
No, good, okay.
Second,
All right,
Mary Ellen.
Yeah, and so the yes for Ken and Dan, you have to indicate.
Yes. Yep. I agree.
All right, motion passed. Okay, thank you. Sean, was there any questions on this application today?
No, that's it. And then, I guess I would ask Jeff and Kate, when can CAUD expect to see the 90%? What's your timeline like moving forward?
That'll probably not be May, so I'd say June at the earliest. When's your meeting in June?
The June meeting is the 8th.
Okay.
Correct.
It could be by the 8th, but I think we're probably going to spend the month of May sorting out some 60% in coordination with the city on some other things. So I think we might be looking at July for a full kind of 90% package. I don't know if there'll be much changed or up to date by the 8th, but I can keep you posted on that. When would you need information from us? Is it a week ahead or?
We need information by the end of the first week of the preceding month.
Okay. Well, I think the next couple weeks, pending some meetings that might occur, will probably give us a better picture. But it might be July before we really are, close to what we're looking at bidding.
Okay. So then Jeff, just keep me posted on it because at least it sounds like for the June meeting, this will not be on the agenda.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if we'll get things advanced as much by then for the bid documents anyway.
Okay. Okay, so I'll put this tentatively on for July, and then we'll
Okay.
see where we're at that point.
Okay, that works.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so the next two agenda items, as we mentioned before, which are 235 Court Street, 27 and 31 Shenango Street. I have to recuse myself, so we don't have a quorum. They won't, those applicants will not be heard today. So we're now on the Shenango River Promenade.
Yes, and can you see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry, for some reason I was having some issues with the display. Okay, just making sure.
John could help you.
Yeah. I got it covered.
Oh,
No,
you guys are
the
moving today.
staff reports, for some reason, they weren't loading, and I wasn't sure if people were able to see them. On my end, at least, they weren't loading, so I'm just trying to make sure. All right, so everybody can see this. So this is an application. Again, it's a public art, and the applicant, Emily Jablon, who the commission is familiar with. You've seen her work around downtown. It's very prominent and noticeable, and Emily's here to discuss it further. But basically, this is to create mosaics upon the curved planters that are found at the southwest section of the Chenango River promenade. And it's sort of right as the promenade transitions and cuts inward, which you can see in the map, right around where the downtown University Center is. And so there's about 10 planters there, and the idea is to mosaic those planters. And sort of the intent is to create a gradient as you go from planter to planter of color. And I'm not probably the best person to describe that vision, but I'll let Emily talk about her vision for the space. Let the artist discuss it. Is probably the better move. So Emily, if you want to add on, you take it away.
Yeah, sure. So a couple of years ago, I was working with Frank in planning because the county had been approved $240,000 for public art. And we were working, and I do mostly like public spaces, and I was helping him, figure out how to set his program up and whatnot. And so some of the public places that we had discussed upon that the county had approved to spend their money on would be continuing the mosaics down the Riverwalk. And we don't mean like every square inch as you go, but just a continued, artistic theme, as you go down our beautiful Riverwalk. So what we were thinking color-wise and design-wise would be to keep it in the same fashion that the mosaics on the Riverwalk are already in, which is, it's besides the Be Inspired, Be Binghamton, there's really no symbol or message behind it. It's just beautiful colors along the way, which is just uplifting and nice. It never really gets outdated. So we were thinking about that would probably be the best bet to do it on the curved part, because then what we would do is there's 10 planters, so a gradient is like, a fade. So like, I don't want to say rainbow because then everybody thinks like that, typical rainbow flag, but, a blended, from like dark red, one would be like, the different shades of red and the different shades of red and orange and the different shades of orange, just a beautiful gradient of, bright, fun colors, pretty much in the same fashion that's up there to keep the theme going without, adding in new elements and new, so that art just kind of complements the Riverwalk as it goes rather than making the Riverwalk about the art was kind of the overall plan. And plus, being in the Innovation District, Riverwalk was a natural spot for wanting to enhance So, you know, I talked to the mayor and he liked the idea. So now I'm here with you guys, hoping to get it approved. And yeah, it's nothing out of the ordinary or nothing that we haven't done right there before.
All right. Thank you, Emily. Board members, any comments?
Well, I've got a comment / question. And so when these things were initially put in, and I wasn't privy to it, were they at the time of proposal and installation considered art unto themselves, where this brutalist concrete was the intent, and now we're changing one artist's conception for another? Or was it just matter of factly done, this is what we got to do, with no intent for the aesthetics or the placement, which I kind of think isn't the case? But if there's a pre-existing artist's intent at hand, I don't think it's up to us to change that. Kind of like that buried pile of Cadillacs out in the Midwest, and then somebody wanted to come through and paint them a different color, and the artist said, well, that's not the intent of why I put them there. I think we just need to be clear that there isn't some pre-intention here before we allow it to change. And I like what Emily's done. She does beautiful stuff. The colors are happy, they're fun, be supportive, in as much as they're not stepping on somebody else's toes.
So, John, you know, I mentioned in the staff report, because I did a little bit of digging to sort of figure out the history of the promenade. And it is, you know, it was during sort of the peak era of urban renewal and a component of downtown project #1. And the intent was, and the reason why I noted that it was likely Werner Seligman, who was the designer, I should say, is probably the better. He was a practicing architect. He was a practicing architect, but he served as the design consultant for much of Downtown Project 1 and basically all of the planning of urban renewal from the late 60s forward. And he was actually he was a Cornell professor and I want to say off the top of my head, I'd have to double check, but I think his architectural office was in Portland. And he, I think, started working with the city through sort of a class, you know, bringing students down to Cornell or down to Binghamton from Cornell, and sort of was hired by the city after that and hired by the Binghamton Urban Renewal Agency. And I assume it was him, since this was a part of that larger design project and his design intent here. But the whole goal was really to connect basically the river back to the downtown and bring people to the river. Now, I think you can probably critique whether or not that was actually successful. But I'm not sure that we're necessarily working with another artist's intent. And I also am not sure if the intent would be altered to a great extent. I mean, the form of the promenade is not changing, just some of the surface materials of the promenade would be altered. But I think the goal of connecting downtown and residents to the river is probably still present in the intent here with this new project. But that's just my staff thinking.
Well, it's subjective. So I'm looking at the picture as presented with the tree and the concrete planter. Behind it, the concrete flyover from the arena and the concrete SOB, which seems to be a reinforcement of the visuals that I perceive was the goal. So if we're going to change that, I just want to be comfortable that we realize we may be changing the overall intent of the urban renewal project as it existed. And again, Emily does beautiful work, but are we making something small, very nice in a small capacity, taking it out of the big picture? Are we diminishing its original intent? I mean, this is art and architecture kind of combined into one.
Well, I will
It's my
say,
question.
I don't know if it's in the picture. The first part of the planters are very old, and the flat parts in between them are very new. And when you look at it, you can tell. So I think adding the mosaics to the older features would not only enhance their original design. Their original design is beautiful with the semicircles coming out, and I think the colors would enhance it and make them pop. Would complement them, and would show off because there's a lot of circular aspects on the Riverwalk that are unnoticed. If you look at where the old water fountain was and the mosaics on the remaining cement walls, they all have this circular feature to them, all the walls. And I think the mosaics enhance that fully because of the way that it moves your eye. So I think like going down the Riverwalk, following this circle path, it brings the intent of his landscaping and his architecture, I think, out further rather than letting it keep just getting older versus the brand new stuff right next to it, which is like a different color. It doesn't exactly match. So, you know, I think an upgrade that enhances it, and if the entire goal of the art of the Riverwalk originally was to bring people to the river, the continued mosaics along the Riverwalk will do so, and they do, and people are taking their pictures there. I mean, it's the most picture-worthy spot in town, and people will be excited about this and will enjoy the Riverwalk more because of it, and will remember visiting Binghamton and the Riverwalk because of these things. And I've learned from doing the public arts over the year and, you know, combining forces and thoughts with my friends who do Luma and stuff, people that think like this, that and what the county and I were thinking when we were thinking the Riverwalk and these planters was that, you know, it's not so aggressive you can't see it from the street. It's like halfway down the Riverwalk at least. And also, we're putting mosaics in one spot, and that's what kind of gives things. That's what like makes things like cool. Or that's what like when you put them in one spot, you create an environment. You create more of like I don't know how to explain it.
We have an environment that you're proposing to change, which is okay. Change is good. So at this point, I think really what we need to see is the mock-up of the proposed mosaics in place so we could have a vote on it. So Sean, can you throw them up?
I didn't. I've never had to do one before. I didn't do one. I just explain it.
Well, then I make a motion. We table this until such time as plans are presented before the commission. I want to see what I'm voting on.
I did want to. So you were bringing up about intent earlier, and I know we brought up like the brutalist, and I mean maybe I sound like a lawyer here, but when I think of brutalism, it's like it's all or nothing with it. It's kind of like all encompassing, and in terms of what we see now, you know, we currently on the walk, there's other elements that aren't brutalist. So
what do you mean by brutalist?
So brutalist is
Style
like this style that pretty much is raw concrete, you know, formwork, and it's like very minimalist.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, sure there's brutalist elements here, but I think like brutalist is almost like a binary. Like once you start adding things to it, which has already been done, I don't know if it counts as brutalism anymore. So, and that's why I'm not as opposed to change myself or adding any of the, you know, artistic elements to it, because you look at it, I don't see only brutalism now.
Fair enough.
When I look at it,
I did make a
see-
motion.
Yeah.
I also had a quick question for Emily. Emily, have you received word back from SHPO yet on your submission?
Okay, so I just checked into it again this morning. There isn't. It says it's, I'll send you a screenshot in the email. It says it's a partially done, but it was supposed to. It has a due date on there of April 30th. So I was hoping that maybe I could forward you the email and you could help me get an answer back quicker than I can, because I did send an email and I haven't heard back. But
Okay, yeah, well, I'll reach out to the reviewer because they should have gotten. I remember when you submitted, and they should have gotten back to you by now.
yeah, it was supposed to be 30 days. So and I did it at the end of the month, right at the end of the month. So it's right at the end of the month now. And I can email you the token number and whatnot. So we're all in cahoots. Because that would be great. And then when I come back for the next meeting with the mock-up, hopefully we'll have an answer by then. I feel we should. So.
Yeah, and Dan, you were right to point out that there are already alterations to the promenade, particularly with areas where Emily has actually already completed work, right? Where there was a brutalist form that was altered with artwork, and I think the question you posed of is that truly brutalist anymore is a good one.
All right, so as John pointed out, he's got a motion on the table. I just want to have a general discussion. So what John is indicating is that he'd like to see what a typical mosaic would look like, I guess, on one of these circular planters. But
Well, a little more than that, Ken. I don't mean to interrupt you, but so we're talking about a changing color scheme going down. I want to see the placement for each one before I vote on it. I just want to be comfortable. And I voted on many of her things in the past with full support. She does beautiful work. But we also have seen before this board that we do not vote on projects until they are presented. The murals on the side of the building, we have input to make sure that they come out in an appropriate fashion for the city. And I think we have to see that.
Well,
no, that's fine. Totally. If I knew, I would have had it today. Visuals are very important for people to feel comfortable and move forward. So that's no problem. And we have to wait for the state thing anyway. So I'm more than happy to do that so we can move forward confidently.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
John, what I was trying to do is define what it was that you were looking for. So you were somewhat successful in answering some of the questions before I could answer them or ask them.
Sorry.
So the question is, with this artwork, so we can get the colors and we can get, how she's describing that they're going to change as we go down. But if I'm understanding this correct, the artwork on each structure is going to be totally different. So how does she come back? I'm trying to give her some guidance on how does she come back with what she's intending to create on each one of these plants.
From north to south, tree 1 planter, tree 2 planter. I think we could have a mock-up of the colorscape as proposed. Not exact, but
okay.
I'll use a reference. Go ahead.
So Emily, are you okay with that? I just want to make sure we don't have a disconnect so that we don't go to the next meeting and we're missing something again. That was my whole intent.
You need a visual. I understand. I've been doing this a long time. It's fine. And I think with the visual, I'm sorry, go on.
I'm sorry, you're comfortable with what you have to provide the board. That's all I'm asking. If you're comfortable and you know what you're going to do, that's fine.
Of course.
Okay.
And I think what the mock-up will show you in terms of intent was that instead of these planters just being overlooked, it'll show the planters as a whole and the beauty of the planters as a whole and how the circles actually define the negative space that the people are walking on. And I think it'll connect them, even though there'll be non-mosaic flat spots in between the planters. It'll still be one piece of artwork, even though it's 10 separate planters.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I second John's motion to table this until additional information is provided.
Okay, great. And that'll give us time to get the state thing on board or figure that out.
Okay, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily.
Bye. Okay, Sean, I'll email you. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thanks, Emily.
Thank you.
Got it.
Bye
All
bye.
right. 124 State Street.
I think I have that. There we go. Okay. So the applicant in this case is just to preface this application actually before we get into it. This is very similar to an application CAUD reviewed, at least in context, is very similar to an application CAUD reviewed for 49 Court Street a couple months ago, and that this is not a building that exists within the downtown historic district. It's immediately adjacent to. And the commission really should be just thinking about visual impact to the historic district in regard to that, in regard to this application, I should say. And I just want to preface that. So your review is a little bit different here than it would be for signage within the district. You could obviously discuss, the different, how visible this is from the area that's inside the district. That could be a component of the conversation, but the applicant is proposing a lit hanging sign from the structural I-beam on the staircase here. And I think they sent Dan Connerton is on the line as the representative for the applicant in this case. And they sent me a revised rendering earlier today. So let me just, I think I threw this up earlier. Hopefully it loads. There we go. Okay. So the placement has changed from where it was in the staff report. And the placement is in response to insurance requirements.
So what's down below, what's still down below the red beam? That sign.
This liquid nightclub, I'm not sure if that's still in existence. Dan, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I can look across the street.
I'm happy to answer any questions. I guess in terms of that question, you're asking what's below the current sign that's there?
That sign's still there.
That sign is, yes, still there. I believe we proposed to replace that sign, but I think at this point it's just looking at being removed.
Okay, thank you. And so the sign that we have now, so that's a display, kind of like a display board that the message can change, the colors can change.
That's you're talking about the current sign that's there?
No, the sign you're proposing now.
No, that will not change. It's going to be a box LED lit sign.
Okay, internally lit.
Correct.
Okay.
So just so I'm clear, we're talking about aqua with the little half curve, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any reason that it couldn't be the full dimension of the height of that window opening rather than recessed from the top a little bit?
No, it certainly can be. We just that was as close to scale as we could get with the current dimensions that I had quoted the sign to the customer.
I just think it would look better if it was the full dimension myself. I like your sign, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, and I actually completely agree with that. I have discussed with the customer, and we are talking about increasing it slightly in height to cover that full opening.
I seem to recall that the Bogart, when that existed back in the late 70s, 80s, had a sign up there as well with a little arrow that went down for the old restaurant. But I mean, God, we're going back 40 years, guys and gals.
Yeah, I've heard many stories about that. My uncle used to work at the Bogart.
Oh, it's a wonderful restaurant. And they had one out west, Endwell, too. It was very nice.
Is that sign perpendicular or is
Yes,
it?
it'll come out. It was a little tough to show on the angle of the picture we had, but yes, it'll come out directly perpendicular from that beam that it's next to in the image.
So it's really designed to be seen by pedestrian and vehicular traffic moving north and south on State then?
Correct. Yes, and we actually we originally had the position on the left beam, but due to the insurance liability, I believe the area over that is technically owned by the city, where the new proposed location is owned by the building owner, and that's why we moved it over to the right, where we'll lose some visibility coming from Court Street, but it seemed to work out better for the building owner.
Okay.
Okay.
And is the liquid sign going to remain, or will that go away eventually? Because it's a little confusing. I think.
Yeah, so that's right. That's either going to be removed or be replaced. If we do plan on replacing it, obviously we'll submit a new application for that. I did propose that be replaced, but currently I believe the plan is just to have it removed.
So Dan, this is John Darrow again. I like your sign as presented. I would be supportive of it. I will not be supportive of an additional sign in place of the liquid. I would be inclined to give you one or the other moving forward, just to keep that in mind. Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anybody else on the board have any other comments regarding the sign? As Sean indicated, it is not in the historic district. It is adjacent to. So one of our criteria in the historic district is no internally lit signs, but this is not the application for this one being outside the district.
Okay. No, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm fine. That was my main question, so.
Okay. Somebody like to make a motion on this?
I'll throw a dart at the wall. I would make a motion. I would make a motion to accept the aqua sign for, I'm sorry, Sean, what is the address?
124 State.
124 State Street, City of Binghamton, as proposed, understanding different from the graphics that it is a perpendicular hanging sign in a north and southerly facing direction. Did that cover it, Sean?
And you're going to ask to have the bottom one removed?
Well, my preference would be to have the bottom sign removed. I don't know if that falls within our purveyance at this time. Does it, Sean?
No, but you can recommend removal of the
I would make
signage.
a strong and emphatic recommendation, Dan, that the bottom liquid sign be removed.
Yes, I completely agree, and I'll pass that along to the customer. That if we do want to replace that, it won't be a lit sign. It'll just be a face.
I think honestly, this is my own comment. I think from a design perspective, I think that sign does nothing. The existing sign does nothing for the building. I think the emphasis on the design of that is that staircase, and by hiding it behind signage, you kind of defeat the point of the design. But that's just a staff comment.
Okay.
You could make the bottom foot of your A a little arrow pointing down for direction.
I will certainly make that suggestion to the customer.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, 5 Court Street.
And 5 Court. There we go. Okay.
And while we're waiting for the graphics, my wife has come into the room and strongly suggested the commission pony up some funds to buy me a dog shock collar. So if I say anything other than yes or no, that at your discretion, you can jolt me.
Oh,
I'll second.
As long as she gets a button for herself, you're fine.
well, we want to see your face on the screen though.
Oh, yeah.
Set up my phone for it and I'll do that. I can't figure it out.
So this application is again for signage, and in this case, it's a little bit. I'm sorry, and I'm kind of apologizing to the commission here. But this signage has actually already been installed, and I think there was a disconnect between the sign fabricator and submitting their applications, including their sign permit application. But we're trying to get people back into compliance here, and I don't believe it was the applicant's intent or the owner's intent to circumvent CAUD review in this case. Luckily, the signage that's been installed, I think because the fabricator is familiar with the CAUD process, is largely consistent. It might exceed the 1/3 guideline by a little bit, but that would be the only issue. And I think given the size of the display window and the total area that is glazed, I don't think it does exceed the 1/3. And Paul's on the line to discuss it further. I don't know if he can comment, so let me just see. He's muted, and I want to see if I can have him to. Oh, he is self-muted, so I cannot unmute him.
Sean, could you zoom on the door a little bit? I can see the.
Yeah, I can actually. I think I have a Zoom. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So the sign on the door is just a 5 Court Street. The other two things are hanging inside, right?
Yeah, those are papers on the door from the inside.
Yeah. Okay. So there's really nothing much on the door at all.
No.
And is the color on the logo, is that accurate in this photograph, or is it brighter than that, or?
No, that's accurate, and it's sort of semi-translucent.
Right. I mean, it may be a little bit more than what we would typically have, but I don't really think it's that bad in my personal opinion.
I'm with you, Ken. I like the sign and the presentation. I think it's very nice. My only secondary thought, and I touched on what Sean had said, that the person doing the signage was aware of what we do. And I almost think that we should have a letter sent to him, because if he knows what we do, he should know to have made the application on behalf of his client. But I do like the sign as presented. I have no problem with the sign.
I agree.
I do too. It's not, it doesn't take up too much of the window that you can't see.
The colors are not space. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Motion?
I just want to make sure. I saw Paul unmuted. I don't know if he wants to add anything.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
If he can.
Paul, would you like to add anything?
Oh, that was my fault. There we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey. Hi. Figured it out.
Nice.
Welcome to my world.
It's our first time using this app.
I'm sure you were able to hear us, were you not, Paul?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to add anything to our discussion so far?
Yeah, it was just it was a misunderstanding. Like, we've been working with Alex Schaff on this, and we assumed that this was something he was going to take care of prior to like correspondence that we had. We weren't really trying to overstep anything. So the main signage that you see on the window is what we primarily wanted to do. If anything, we wanted to update the address. This says 5 Court Street, so that way it's in accordance with like the font that we have for Golden Fleece. And then on the side of the building, we just would also like to add the words tattoo and piercing, so that way pedestrians and vehicular drivers going down the Main Street Bridge would be able to see more clearly what it is that we offer.
All right. So, Paul, this is Mr. Darrow. Understand that you're going to have to submit the address and submit the side window stuff to us for the next meeting, but we can approve the front window signs right now because we have that.
Okay.
Okay, cool. And right now you've got our our go-ahead unanimously, if I
Cool.
understood it correctly.
All
I
right.
don't, did we get a motion yet? No, we didn't, formally, we didn't make a motion. I think we're headed that way.
Yes, we did. It was seconded.
It was?
Yeah. I'll make a motion again. I
Well,
make
no,
a
you
motion to
don't.
approve the
Yeah.
sign at 5 Court Street as presented.
And who seconded it?
Mary Ellen.
Really?
No, I thought it was Dan.
Maybe it was Dan. His voice changed.
We've got one on the table now, so somebody
I will
can
not
second.
confirm or deny.
All right,
He
all
was
in favor?
excited. What can I tell you?
All in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
Dan, they sent you out like cliff notes on what you were joining, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Sean, any other business that you want us to be aware of?
No, I've seen a couple emails come in regarding the special meeting, because we do need to get those two applications on an agenda. And Ken, you're recused from that, from those two.
I do have something. When you're ready, I do have something. I've been getting emails about the old number 5 restaurant. And
Okay.
it appears they took off some of the brickwork on the top facade that was BFD, and I think it was either 1891 or 1897, the date. I was over there last night and took a picture, and it's like the whole top facade, like 4 or 5 feet, has been redone, minusing the BFD and the date. And my understanding of being a local, state, and national landmark, they cannot do that to the exterior, and it was before our board, and we were quite adamant about such things. So I kind of need to know going ahead, and I have to respond to this person who lives over there. I was pretty upset.
So I'll clarify that for you, John. So there was a local resident who I think probably reached out to you and maybe some other members of the community, because I was made aware of it through a city councilman who reached out to the clerk's office, and then I was notified. And I spoke with, the developer of that property is very cognizant of the historic resource he has. And I think I do check on that project every so often. I hadn't been made aware of this, but I reached out to him yesterday and got a response back within a half an hour, and he notified me that, and if you give me 1 second, I'll read exactly what he said. But good for bringing that up. He told me the date stone at the top is not being removed. The only sign is the BFD wood sign that was up top, fell off the facade, and they're going to reinstall after it is repaired and make the front brick facade repairs. And that was it.
Okay. So it's going to be restored. I couldn't find the date sign last night when I was there, Sean. That's why I was asking.
Well, originally, so if you remember correctly, that section of the building at the top was covered in ivy, which is not a good thing for historic buildings usually, and particularly for mortar. So as I understand it, that was removed, and then they needed to repair the brick, and I think they're repairing it. Last I had checked, and what was presented during the CAUD meeting, because I went back to check that, is it was to be repaired in basically the same fashion as the repairs made to the adjacent building at the top facade. At the top of the facade, excuse me. So everything so far is still consistent with CAUD's prior decision in that case, and with the overall rehabilitation. But I will keep an eye on it to make sure.
Okay, because he does have that like pediment up top, all brick back in, just missing the pertinent information. Also, I thought that we had a thing on our paperwork concerning the main staircase inside, that was going to remain. Is that still the case? I don't think we have say over interior, but I understood
You do not, and no, CAUD has no jurisdiction over the interior stair, and we never did.
Okay. We're working towards public right-of-ways or something in interior buildings, I think, though, aren't we?
There is an option if CAUD were to update our current preservation ordinance to be to match the existing state recommended legislation. There is an option to include interiors, a section of interiors that are accessible to the public. So
something like
primarily
the grand entrance of Security Mutual Life or the Kilmer Building, something in that order would potentially come
Correct.
under our surveillance. How
Correct.
difficult would that be to initiate this year to get that going for us?
Yes, we can look into that.
That would be great. Not trying to give you more work to do. I know you work hard, but you know, I think it'd be real important moving forward.
Okay.
Do I need to make a motion?
No, I don't think you don't need to make a motion for that. We can look into it. I can forward out the.
I'm ready to second.
Yeah, we got it in line, Sean.
And you gotta be careful who you align yourself with.
Yeah.
Any sort of change, the preservation law goes through quite a few jumps, so we can start working on that. And I don't know, if we do update it, I'm not sure if that interior landmarks section would make it into the final cut, but there's no harm in exploring it.
I'd like to try. I'd also like to get a little more proactive with doing some local landmark status, something like Sunbriar Court, which with the encroachment of the parking lots coming around, it's the old Kilmer stables on Riverside Drive. I think if it isn't, we need to get that on local landmarks. There's several other buildings that are potentially in jeopardy 5-10 years down the road that I think we should try and protect.
You feel for, John, and to any of the commissioners, if there are properties that you think should be local landmarks, feel free to forward them to me. The only thing I would say is it's always better to also approach the property owner beforehand if you're interested in getting a feeling for whether or not they would be supportive of it. Because you really don't want to go landmarking things without property owner support. It's just not the best approach. Well, it's not that it's inappropriate. Sometimes it does happen, and sometimes it's in the public interest that it occurs. But if you can get owner support and sort of be proactive, that's the best approach.
Because we just had Kentucky Derby Sunday this past weekend, and of course, the only Kentucky Derby winner we've ever had was pretty much here at Sunbriar Court. Exterminated. Right. He was only the Kentucky Derby winner. Sunbriar was the world money winning champion. Okay, that's all for me. Right. But that's all, folks. Motion to close.
No, hey, John.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
You're taking my role. Quiet down.
Sorry.
You guys are wound up today.
He is wound up today. I think I'm going to take it.
You all are.
I've had a long couple weeks here.
I think we need to get this all back into City Hall.
Yeah, I'm with you. I had my shots. I'm ready.
Yeah,
my second one Thursday.
All right. Does any other members have any other business they want to bring up before John closes the meeting prematurely?
Are we
put out the door? Come on.
Are we okay for? I sent back to you just before the meeting that I'm good for those 3 for the special.
Yeah, the dates were fine for me as well.
And I'm good for both dates also.
Same here.
I'm good.
Okay. The key is getting Mike or Mick. We need one of them to attend. Right. So as soon as I hear back from them, I'll notify everybody.
Okay.
All right.
Sean, have you heard anything on Peter Klosky's health?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Anybody?
Nothing. Should we maybe send a card out? If you had an address you could give me, I have no problem getting a card. I'd be happy to. He was such a good member of the board for so long. I don't want to just feel forgotten about.
No, that's a good idea, actually, sending a card.
Yeah, if you get me the address, I'll get a card, and that'd be great.
Circulate for signatures. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can do that.
All right.
Okay. Motion to close.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
All right. Got it.
All right. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.